Good morning and welcome to our BAC partner series, briefing series, today with Statistica and along with our friend and BAC expert, Shawn Rogers. Shawn is Chief Research Officer at Statistica. Shawn is also an internationally recognized thought leader, speaker, author, instructor, covering a series of topics from IoT, business analytics, big data, cloud, data integration, data warehousing, and especially I know you've taught a lot on social analytics. Shawn has more than 20 years of hands-on experience. Prior to joining Statistica, he was Vice President of Research for multiple areas at EMA, including business intelligence and analytics. He was also co-founder of the BI Network and was a partner at DM Review. So Shawn has tons of background. We're really privileged to have such a great speaker on this briefing series this morning. And Shawn, today we're going to talk about what Statistica was doing, and especially what they're doing with 13.2. Welcome.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's good to be here. And by walking through that very long bio, you've confirmed that I'm old. So thank you for that. It's an exciting time for us at Statistica, and so I'll bring up a deck to share with the group today as soon as I find it. And let me know if you're able to see it, Rich, and we'll put it into the show format and make sure it's working. Are you able to see it, Rich?
We can. And there's your bio written out, probably in a little bit form. Now, perfect. I think you're in slideshow, the viewer mode, so I think you need to switch up there where it says display settings.
All right, hold on. What would you like me to swap it to?
Yeah, the top one. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, no worries. So thank you to everybody for being here, and I'm excited to talk about what's new with Statistica 13.2. Our focus right now is empowering the citizen data scientist and looking for ways to leverage the collective intelligence of our community, and that's something that Statistica thinks about and works towards on a pretty regular basis. For those of you who aren't users of our platform, just a little bit of history. We're a wonderfully old and experienced software company, and that doesn't always happen in today's world, but advanced analytics have been in the market for a long time, and so has Statistica. Statistica was established in 1984, and since that time we've continued to build upon a very successful platform that are used by almost uncountable number of people worldwide. We started to make significant changes to the platform just recently to sort of adopt some of the new shifts and changes that we see in the marketplace, and I think that that's part of the reason I find what's going on in the marketplace to be so interesting. It used to be that many of us, if we wanted advanced analytics, we had to line up in the hallway and ask someone to give us a hand, and now we're seeing this shift, much like what we've seen in the BI space where people want to self-serve. We're seeing that in the advanced analytics space as well. So Statistica has been around a good long time. We got the math out of the way a long time ago as well. We've got 16,000 functions in the platform, and we have some very special expertise in process monitoring and quality control. We're well liked and heavily adopted by the manufacturing sector for those reasons. So last but not least, I want to touch on, and you'll hear this theme while I talk today, open standards are something that we take very seriously because while we think that Statistica, and we've proven that Statistica is a great place for you to do all of your work for advanced analytics, we also know that many of you out there are looking for open platforms that allow you to use R and Python and other languages in order to get the job done. And we're able to kind of embrace that and extend the capabilities so we can put an enterprise structure around what you're doing, but at the same time give you freedom to the tools the way you want to. So a handful of sort of themes that we tend to focus on at Statistica, real-time analytics, data blending and discovery with exceptional visualization. We're also concerned about allowing and enabling you to put some governance and security around what you're doing in the advanced analytics space. We like the ability to take action from these insights. So we have a rules engine in our platform, and we know that you want to collaborate and share as your analytic environment becomes more widely deployed and adopted throughout the enterprise. So we're kind of keeping track of those things as well. And I think that's important if you want a platform today that'll take you where you need to be. So we see opportunities, and we do business in a very wide array of verticals, everything from marketing to manufacturing and healthcare in between. And the point here is that you're going to want to look for solutions in the market, and Statistica feels like they solve that problem, that allow you to do a wide variety of different workloads. So whether you're interested in fraud detection, or if you're looking for product traceability and compliance, or if you want to optimize your pricing, or if you're in a regulatory or compliance-oriented manufacturing environment, you're going to want a statistical or an analytic environment that allows you to keep track, audit, and have everything be auditable. We focus very heavy on that at Statistica as well. So the point here, I guess I was looking to make is we have traction in specific areas, and we have a lineage there, but we're used in marketing, finance, healthcare, pharmaceutical, manufacturing. Just about every industry is represented with our customers. So there's a lot of things changing in the market, and version 13.2 for us helps take us to a level where we're able to kind of embrace some of these new and interesting innovation areas that people are doing new and interesting things with advanced analytics. So I mentioned collective intelligence up front, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but there is this opportunity in the space today where data scientists are looking to get a faster start, where they're looking to leverage the wisdom of their community or the wisdom of crowds. And our collective intelligence technology allows you to utilize Statistica as a central or core point for your advanced analytics, but also allows you to reach out into the open community to access libraries and open source code, to bring in Python scripts, to reach into places like open marketplaces like Apervita and Algorithmia and other spots where your peers are sharing their intelligence, and you can actually leverage it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that theme. Empowering citizen data scientists is also an innovation area that we focus on very heavily. We believe that there is a convergence in the market as BI users, especially the power users of good BI platforms, are looking to infuse their insights with advanced analytics. They're looking for what fills that gap. And Statistica is definitely moving in that direction by giving simpler user interfaces, reusable and repeatable templates, and fast start mechanisms that allow power users to take advantage of advanced analytics at the same time as somebody who might be a more true data scientist. IoT is certainly buzzworthy. It's a topic that if you read the press around technology today, it's hard to page through a magazine or a website and not see something about this topic, and we think it's exciting as well. I think that there is a new demand on platforms anywhere, whether it be BI or advanced analytics. This capability of taking your analytic to wherever the data is going to become very important, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we dive in today. But I think that edge analytics and IoT are a very interesting place where not necessarily new data, but data exists in many of our environments that we haven't been able to take advantage of, that would also be very nice to fold into and mesh up with other enterprise data to take you across the finish line. And I'll also talk about a few of the bits and parts of 13.2 that you might find notable going forward. From a disruptive innovation standpoint, collective intelligence is something that Statistica has been working on now for just a little bit over a year. And so let me lay the landscape of how important we think this is. The ability to extend the skill set of a data scientist is something that's very important. Scaling data scientists is hard. And as more people are approaching advanced analytics and wanting to utilize them, data scientists are looking for ways to get ahead. And one of the ways to get ahead quicker is to have a more open platform. And so Statistica 13.2 certainly focuses on that. And we've recently completely integrated connectivity from our platform to some of the more broad-based and interesting marketplaces that exist out there in the data science world. So if I'm a data scientist, I can sit down at Statistica, and if you look at the right side of the screen, you can see our workflow area, and it's very visual and modular, and you can see all the individual nodes from tapping into databases and merging data and checking the health of the data. But it becomes really interesting when it's time to start to build or put models with the information. And if a data scientist doesn't want to start from scratch, they might want to reach out into the open source world or the open world in general to get a quicker start. And that's where places like Algorithmia and Apervita and the Python communities that are out there, and of course there's always H2O and the R communities. All of them have marketplaces and libraries that are be very interesting for a data scientist to have at their fingertips. And so we've built into our ribbon bar at the top of Statistica the capability for you to touch a button, jump into the Algorithmia environment, and actually work with the Algorithmia environment from our environment, making it very simple for a data scientist to actually move forward and get value quicker.
Hey, Shawn, just before we go on, it just brings me back to when people started dealing with kind of algorithms and analytics and the type of folks those were. It seems like this is kind of a new generation of data scientists, a group that's not nearly the white coat kinds of folks we used to know.
Yeah, when I got into the business, the only way to get advanced analytics done was to do what I mentioned before. You went down the hall, stood in line, talked to someone with a slide ruler and a white lab coat, and a month later they gave you some insight with an advanced analytics platform that was difficult to use, had sort of an academic user interface in front of it, and it wasn't very user friendly. That has to change and is changing dramatically in the marketplace. And there is a new breed of user that's migrating towards advanced analytics. I think we've seen over the last decade and a half that BI tools can really empower a company to move a little faster and get deeper insight into what they need to do. Well, advanced analytics is the next step in that journey towards the promised land of how we can use data. And as data is becoming more important to us, utilization and taking action is more important. And the arena of advanced analytics will probably be driven by data scientists for quite some time, but the consumption side of it is really getting very broad. And so we see, business analysts, power users from the BI side of the business, even just straight off line of business executives who want to have a predictive element into their insight. And they're not always willing to wait a long period of time for that. And so they want to be able to self-serve, and they want to be able to take advantage of these insights and these platforms, but they don't want to do it in the old way that you and I witnessed years ago.
Yeah, things are constantly changing in this area.
Yeah, and I think it's very exciting. I think, as we're able to collect more data, keep more data, we have all these brand new platforms that have entered the space recently. And so you want to orchestrate data across them. Some of them have, a great opportunity to store massive amounts of data that wasn't practical in the past. But bottom line is we're not in the business to store data. We're in the business to analyze it, and we want to analyze it so that we can take better action. And advanced analytics plays a role there, I think, certainly alongside of what we see in the BI space. So yeah, I think your observation is spot on. So being able to tap into these marketplaces where your peers are presenting and sharing models and applications and algorithms, I think is pretty exciting. And then to be able to bring them into a kind of a governed and controlled space like Statistica will make it easier for companies to adopt these marketplaces. And that's what our collective intelligence is all about. And I think it's fun to be able to do that. So another area that we're focused on is this new breed of user, Rich, and you know, we've made great inroads with our citizen UI. We've made quite a few changes to how Statistica looks. It doesn't resemble what it used to look like just 2 years ago. We've completely overhauled the platform to make it easier. It's a very drop and drag, intuitive environment to design workflows and to manage your analytics, which I think is great. A couple of things that we added in 13.2, which are pretty interesting, is reusable workflow templates that can actually be protected. So picture, if you will, you have an environment at your enterprise where you have a data scientist who's very skilled, but you're having issues with citizen data scientists not knowing where to go or how to use things as easily as perhaps the more refined experts. So you can set up a workflow where your data scientist is actually building out the complex stuff, making sure that the same algorithm is used for the same processes, making sure that the math is staying consistent, making sure data sources are consistent, and then lock the template down so that it becomes this powerful sort of super node where a citizen data scientist can just drag it off the menu, pull it onto the workspace, and move forward from there, and fill in a few variables and make a couple of changes that are warranted to what they want, but at the same time they get to benefit greatly from the work that a data scientist has done. One of the other exciting things about being able to lock down and protect your IP is because we want to tap into places like Aprovita and Algorithmia and the R libraries and all these other communities out there. Well, we want our users to be able to produce products or things to go into these libraries as well. And I think often when you're doing smart stuff like this, you like to protect it a little bit and make sure that not everybody can see your secret sauce. And so the idea of protecting and publishing from Statistica is one, it's a road of innovation that will stay on for a while and continue to help people do a better job and to be able to leverage these communities. The other thing I mentioned up front was how exciting IoT is, and we saw opportunities in IoT going back quite some time. We published and created a piece of technology called Native Distributed Analytics Architecture, or NDAA as we call it at Statistica. And really what NDAA is the ability to use Statistica as a centralized place for all of your advanced analytics, to deploy workflows from our platform off to where your data is. And I mentioned this collection of data. You know, this data has gravity, and we spend a lot of time, money, and energy putting the right data in the right place for the right use. And then often when we want to do advanced analytics, we end up having to apply ETL and drag all the data from the source system back to some central location so that we can do the work on it. And that's not pragmatic anymore. Some of this data is just not worth lifting. It's just too heavy, it's too large. And so NDAA allows us to deploy our models and algorithms out to where the data is. So we have the capability to actually put our analytics inside of databases like Oracle and Teradata and Hadoop and inside of Hive or Spark, and it gives you the capability to run the analytics where the data lives instead of going through the old motion of trying to move the data back to a central system to run the analytics. And once we solved that problem, we saw a great opportunity in the IoT space, which is, can we at Statistica help our data scientists put algorithms, put advanced analytics next to IoT data? And we've been very successful with that. So we have the ability to move analytic workflows from our platform anywhere in your environment, whether it be inside of a database, whether it be inside of an IoT sensor or an IoT gateway. And we're working with a lot of the IoT companies right now that want to infuse what they're doing with analytics. And this also brings up this conversation around the ability to do analytics at the speed of your business. Real-time analytics on IoT data is keenly important. And so this ability to put a model next to the data while the data is happening and to be able to listen to the data and take action is where we're heading with our work around IoT and around edge analytics. And I think it's a very exciting area. Like I said before, the data isn't new, but it's huge. If you're listening to a sensor just one time a second, every second of the day, it's 86,000 rows of data, give or take. And if you've got 10,000 sensors on a floor in a manufacturing facility, which some of Statistica customers do, you can imagine the abundance of data that they have at the edge. And so we allow our customers to analyze that data as it happens, to decide what data to keep and to decide what data to send back to the center. And then because we can put our analytics anywhere we choose, we can actually kind of help you in a concentric sort of way to do analytics at the far edge and then continue to do analytic workloads on the data as it moves through your ecosystem back to the core.
So, Shawn, just a question, kind of going back to the whole discussion about IoT. We've been talking about IoT for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And, you know, at some level, I think there's been some skepticism about whether or not this was really going to turn into a market. It sounds like you guys are really capitalizing on a market that maybe others haven't been able to talk about as much.
Yeah, you know, I think it's been a market for a long time. I think what we've recently done is we gave it a new catchy name, you know, and the Internet of Things gets people's attention and the acronym is short and simple. But, you know, we have use cases. I have a great one that I know Statistica was doing in like 2007. Dr. Tom Hill, who's the founder of Statistica, worked on a project with Alliant Energy. And you think about, well, you know, what kind of IoT stuff was an energy company doing? Well, if you're a brick and mortar energy company and you have so many furnaces in your facility, your job is to optimize those furnaces to put off the right amount of heat and energy to turn the turbines to create the steam that makes the electricity. And I'm oversimplifying their business, but you know, they came to Statistica, you know, 11 years ago and asked them for help on how do we listen to the sensors inside of our furnaces, how do we optimize our control models, and how do we make them burn more efficiently, because that's how they scale their company for greater success. And so, you know, manufacturers have had this data for decades. The problem is the technology really wasn't always there to move it across the network so that you could do things with it. And now, which I think is going to become table stakes, if your advanced analytics platform can't do analytics out on the edge, out in a database, and throughout your ecosystem, if you're restrained to just doing analytics at the core, you have a significant business problem that you need to solve now, because not all the data lives in the core anymore. Lives in the cloud, it lives on the edge, and I think that that's very compelling. So, you know, to answer your question, Rich, you know, we both know the data's been around for decades. It's really kind of been a technology and a marketing buzz thing, but companies like Statistica have been doing IoT for years. It's just we didn't call it IoT back then. We called it process optimization. We called it, you know, other titles that made sense to the time.
That's awesome. Thanks, Shawn.
You know, we're on this theme of talking about some of the other things that we've been doing with the platform, and I've hit some of the big themes, right? The citizen data scientist edge, our ability to tap into marketplaces. But with every release of a great software platform, you'll see lots of, you know, notable feature upgrades. And as you look across all these bullets on the page, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but we've just added some open source deep learning toolkit to the platform, which we thought was important. We've added more strength to our analytic offerings around Bayesian methods. Dr. Tom and his team, along with our engineers, recently added network analytics with a graph database inside of Statistica 13.2, which is now in beta, which is very exciting if you have the type of data challenges that a graph database can help you with. So having the ability to do network analytics, I think, is really interesting. And as I said, we aim to be as I guess open as possible. So we're continuing to add new capabilities around Python and the R community and making things more usable and simple within the platform. So, you know, like I said, lots of, you know, checkbox stuff here that we included in 13.2, which is, you know, proof positive that if you're founded in 1984, it doesn't mean that you can stop. And we haven't, and we continue to change things moving forward. And those changes have benefited us quite a bit. As you can see here, Gartner placed Statistica in the leaders quadrant of last year's Magic Quadrant for Advanced Analytics platform. So you can find more information about that on our website, but it's when you're looking at solutions in the marketplace, the MQ can be a great resource to go back and look and see, who's leading the market and who's doing interesting things. And so we had been a challenger for a bit. We stayed in that challenger quadrant, but our release of 13 1 year ago was the release that moved us from challenger to leader, and now we're improving upon that with 13.2. So it's always a nice badge of honor to say that leading the market. I also think it's important, when we look at the market, to understand that there's lots of ways to innovate, no matter what industry you're in. And so, I would urge all of you listening today that if you're looking for new solutions in the marketplace, look for one that has special capabilities in your vertical, but also look for ones that have horizontal expertise that give you the power that you need. And some of the examples I'll show you from our case studies here span a bunch of different areas, but getting things the right way the first time is very important to specialized manufacturing companies. Sanofi Genzyme is a logo I'm sure many of you will know, and they're burdened with a very complex and manufacturing process. And they use Statistica in a sort of an end-to-end way for quality control and process monitoring, so that they're able to trace their lots as they manufacture things. They also can use Statistica for stability analysis. So in this pharmaceutical world, drugs do have shelf lives, and Statistica's advanced analytics suite's capable of helping them meet their business needs around these problems. So, think about it. If you're in the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, it's exotic materials. It's a high-tech manufacturing process, and you can't afford to make mistakes. And companies rely upon us to make sure that those processes stay within the tolerance that are required. And that's a mixture of real-time information, right-time information that allows them to make changes and to steer their course using our software. And I think that that's an important sort of thing to do. We're also used by people in the semiconductor industry, and we've got great use cases for how we help very sophisticated manufacturing processes maintain control and quality from an end-to-end sort of process. And once again, in the manufacturing space, Statistica has done very well there for a very long time. We have customers that go back, double-digit years that rely upon us. And in this particular case study, you can see that we combined a six-site Statistica implementation in order to meet the needs of our customers. So not only do we get used as point solutions, but we're used very often from wider and larger enterprises that want to have consistency and control from their advanced analytics across the larger ecosystem. I think that that's important, and that's where some of the technologies that we discussed up front come from. Another great use case in the healthcare world. I'm sure many on the phone today have heard lots of examples of how advanced analytics is helping places like St. John's Clinic and other companies with predicting our health, and that's becoming a very important thing. We've seen use cases for Statistica that help doctors understand how better to perform surgery. We see Statistica being used in a use case like this, where we have near 100% accuracy, where we're helping doctors and caregivers actually predict and take action in a very meaningful way. And obviously it saves money, but let's face it, this is a great story when it saves lives. And I think that those are the types of use cases that really have an impact from this side of the industry. Many of us know the De Beers logo. This is a great use case. De Beers uses Statistica to make sure that they mitigate both malicious and non-malicious losses. Their product is extraordinarily expensive, and it's extraordinarily small if you think about the size of a diamond. And so they use Statistica to help them understand how their mines are operating, and the impact of certain variables within their mining operations that they can have loss, and whether it be malicious or otherwise. And Statistica is at the heart of real-time data collection and real-time surveillance and mining of information that's not typical row and column data. Where we're able to look at non-numerical information and bring that together for De Beers to help them offset those types of circumstances. So, you know, on the grand scheme of things, or I guess if I were going to leave you with some thoughts this afternoon, you know, Statistica has been in the market for a very long time. We're very proud of that. The product was massively overhauled with version 13 over a year ago. That massive overhaul propelled us forward in the eyes of our customers as well as the eyes of the analyst community. We're well thought of in the market. We have a large global install base, and we're keeping up or being ahead of some of the trends that are pretty interesting, whether it be the citizen data scientists or being able to do analytics where your data is at the edge or elsewhere, or tapping into the interesting aspects of greater communities and marketplaces. All of those things are on our agenda. So that's 13.2 in a nutshell, Rich.
Thank you, Shawn. Just kind of, those are great use cases. To kind of stay on that theme for a second, where do you see kind of newer use cases and places that where you expect Statistica to get even kind of broader adoption in some different markets going forward?
I think that's a great question. I said that we're very entrenched in and have great use case stories around manufacturing, and I think that's where we dug in our heels early, and that was even before I was at Statistica. So a lot of work done in pharma and manufacturing, but a lot of opportunities springing forward for us across all those areas I had on the slide earlier. The financial services market and finance market and banking really see a way to leverage advanced analytics, and we have a lot of proficiencies there, as I mentioned, in risk and real-time trading and all of those arenas. Retail has really embraced advanced analytics over the last couple of years, the last decade or so, and they're differentiating themselves with how they use advanced analytics because their margins are so thin. So retail likes that a lot, and healthcare, I think, is definitely popping up as a new opportunity for everybody, because frankly, we have a use case I didn't share with you today, which is really interesting with a hospital, where we help doctors understand how to close a particular surgery in real time in the operating room. And we collect data for the doctor during the process, and a nurse in the operating room even augments that data by entering real-time clinical information from the surgery itself, how the patient is reacting, and a lot of other variables around the surgery. And they're able to choose the best possible path to reducing infection. And so the hospital that uses this has reduced their post-surgery infections by 74% using Statistica in the operating room. And so you start to get on the healthcare side, would you go someplace that's not using advanced analytics anymore to augment what our, very smart healthcare providers give us? I think doctors appreciate having the power of advanced analytics at their fingertips to make even better decisions. And that's what we're seeing. So, healthcare is a great place. The finance world, retail are all areas that we're seeing that are spending a lot more time with advanced analytics. And I think the consumability of it has changed a lot, to what you mentioned earlier. The model's changed, and because the model has changed, more people want to consume it, and more people, frankly, have an expectation to be able to leverage it.
Yeah, that last use case, the operating room use case, is awesome because it talks about outcomes that matter. Sometimes we work on these things and we, improve a margin 0.25%. It's really good for a company, but if you're saving a life or, getting somebody out of the hospital faster, that's a real contribution. So
I agree.
Hey, I got, before you sign off, I'm not going to let you out without talking about all the things that have been in the news lately, because obviously you're not anymore Dell Statistica, you're Statistica, and I think it'd be great to kind of spend a couple minutes and tell our members kind of what's up with the transition, and congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So the acquisition of the Dell Software Group by Francisco Partners took place on November 1st. It was announced back in June, so it was something that we've been working towards. And it is. It's thanks for the congratulations. It's kind of exciting. Francisco Partners is a great company. They came in very fast and are running I guess maybe a playbook's a good word for it. You know, sometimes during these periods, there's a little uncertainty. I can assure you there is not with us. We have been well organized and we're on a path to continue business as usual. As a matter of fact, I was just in Tulsa yesterday with our teams helping plan the next roadmap parts for Statistica. So we're doing business the way we always have, and we will continue as sort of an independent business unit within what is now called Quest Software. And there's lots of different components within Quest. We're in the information management group of Quest, which is a good spot for us and makes sense for us. And where we're sitting is business as usual, and we're motoring through our fourth quarter. So yeah, change is always interesting, but in the case of this change, not a lot's changed for me here at Statistica. Mostly what's changed has been more of a corporate structure, which is fine.
Well, and yeah, thank you for that. And it sounds like the product this new release is going to be providing significant more value to the marketplace. So congratulations with that as well. And I'm looking at my bar at the bottom of my screen, and it looks like we have a whole series of questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks, Rich and Shawn, for sharing. So we do have a handful of questions. Before I start in on these, I want to remind everybody to use that Q&A window to submit questions if you have some that don't get answered here. And then also, again, if we run out of time, we'll take whatever questions we have that we haven't gotten to, and we'll put them up over on the Statistica forum at BAC. So with that, there's a couple here around additional use cases, Shawn. So we'll start there just because that's the most recent thing we were talking about. One viewer asked about any DoD related businesses or use cases, and then also specifically, do you have any use cases for the commercial airline industry?
Well, certainly federal is an area that we're focused on. As a matter of fact, this year, Statistica launched a federal group within the Statistica sales organization to better serve those opportunities. I don't have any Department of Defense use cases that I can share with you in public, but we do an awful lot of work for the acronyms of the United States government, as you can imagine. We're an advanced analytics company, and that type of technology is widely used throughout our government. And so, yeah, we definitely see a good opportunity there. We've been doing business there for a long time and certainly have opportunities there as well. So I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but when I get DoD questions, I always chuckle. It was, let me explain to you what we're doing for the government usually doesn't work well on a web seminar. So. And what was the other half of your question, Ryan? Was it to do with airlines?
Yeah, commercial airlines.
We have so many use cases. I'm not positive what use cases I could share with airlines. I'd be happy to take the question away and have someone on our marketing team take a look and share use cases, because we have quite a few of those use cases in single slides that we're able to share with people. Pricing optimization is an area where we see the airlines using advanced analytics quite a bit. We also see them using advanced analytics in the scheduling side of their business. And also probably one of the more fun areas that we're seeing is around the preventive maintenance side. So we're seeing a shift in the airline world away from this, the relationship with airlines used to be, we'll buy a plane from a manufacturer, or we'll buy an engine, and then you have this traditional sort of capital outlay and service kind of relationship. Now we're starting to see a shift where the manufacturers don't really sell the planes as much as they lease the uptime. And that's because they have the capability to do some pretty interesting things with IoT data, device data with the airplanes, because they now can use advanced analytics to understand when there's going to be a breakdown and actually take preventative courses of action to maintain the uptime of the airlines over the long term. So, and we're seeing that in a lot of the sophisticated service industries where the model is changing. I think, we're definitely living in the algorithm economy. Back in '95, Don Tapscott wrote that great book about the digital economy, and I think it was very smart and on topic. But I think we've come to the end of the internet makes data sort of side of things, and now we're in a universe where the internet's data and all of this other system data is being utilized in a better way. And I think innovation around BI has been a catalyst to that. Now you're seeing an awful lot of innovation in the advanced analytics space.
Great. Kind of going to move into functionality type questions now at this point. We'll start with a question around the IoT piece. And this question is kind of foundational. So how are data science, IoT, and analytics, predictive analytics all correlated? Would you need to acquire IoT prior to moving on to analytics? So I think what they're getting at there is, hey, does it make sense to have an analytics capability outside of or before I have sort of my IoT infrastructure in place?
Well, I think it certainly depends deployment by deployment, and I'd probably need more details to thoroughly understand the crux of the question. But I find the easy answer is we'll get your data first and then apply analytics or insight to it. But I suspect that most companies have the data, they just haven't tapped into it. And so, like Rich and I were talking, IoT data or sensor-based data has been in most people's ecosystems for a very long time. We've chosen to ignore it because it wasn't economical to go after, it wasn't economical to manage, and we didn't have a place to bring it. And all of those kind of problems have been solved by big data. So most companies that we work with that are looking for sort of the best practice idea, we tell them that they need to understand all of their data. It's not just big data anymore, it's all the data in your ecosystem that makes sense for you to drive your business with. And for some companies, that might be better managing their facilities by making sure that IoT helps them turn off the lights. But for a hospital, it might mean IoT is going to help them do better in surgery. And so it's really about, can you bring all of the data together, understand the landscape it lives in, and then do you have a product that's agile enough to orchestrate across all of that? Because I mentioned concentric analytics before. Most of us have analytics at the core, so you kind of look at it, kind of picture our core systems with the circle around it, and that's where it all happens. Then we all kind of started about a year ago talk about, well, can I do it way out there on the edge? Can I put some analytics at the IoT side? And that's very compelling for a lot of customers. I think what's more important is can you have radiating sort of levels of work being done across your environment? And that's what we mean by concentric analytics. Can I do it at the farthest corner of my analytic world? Someone in one of our product meetings this week said it's edge to edge, Shawn. It's the whole thing. And I think that that's where I would be wondering right now if I know I have IoT, if I know I have lots of data or big data, I would be looking for an advanced analytics solution that allows me to bring data to the analytics and bring the analytics to the data and gives me the flexibility across the diverse ecosystem the way it's required.
Great.
Hope that helps.
Yeah. So again, kind of thinking about functionality, how about VI tools? So could you elaborate on the visualization tools available? Are they dynamic? Are they responsive, real time? Those types of things.
Yeah, we have multiple visualization engines inside our platform. So as I mentioned before, our roots are really with core data scientists and statisticians, and they use a lot of QC charts and very sort of simple, straightforward sort of control charting that they require to do the work that they do. And we've had a suite of those in the platform since the very early days. We also have some really cool, sexy and fun big data sort of visualizations. And then we have a very highly interactive BI engine inside of Statistica that would allow you to do visualizations and dashboards in a way that you would expect from some of the leading BI tools.
And then how about data discovery, information discovery? Do those collaborate within the platform?
Yeah, so we don't hold ourselves out there as a data integration company, but we certainly, one of the things I bounced over is we do have helpful nodes, especially for citizen data scientists and data scientists alike, but we have a health data check node, which will analyze all of the data that you're bringing in and help you understand better where you have, sparse populations of information or duplicate information and so on. And it helps our customers handle their data a little bit better. And then when we get into the discovery mode, we have a lot of tools in our workflow that helps the data scientist with discovery. So you can actually land real-time charts in the workflow. So as you apply different algorithms to different data, you can see how that's visualized. We have the ability for you to compare different models inside of our environment and discover which ones will give you the right amount of lift and help you understand which ones are the best to apply to your data. So we understand the need to forage and to have aha moments. And we're very geared for that. And people who are smarter technically than I am could probably give a great demo on Statistica on how to do that. But I know we have the tools in place. So the answer is, yeah, we support that. We know it's important.
Great. And then one other question, a little more technical again. So when supporting in database analytics, what format is your model? For example, PMML or ANSI SQL?
So we have the ability in our NDAA technology that I had up on the slide, this native distributed analytic architecture, to output in many different languages. So we output in Java so that we could land in environments that accept that. We output in SQL, we output in C and C#. We can output in, I think there's 7 or 8 of them. Python, of course, is included there. And so what I said up front about maintaining a level of openness, we believe that it's critical to be able to, we don't want a walled garden around Statistica. What we want is for you to utilize it as your central distribution and management facility for your advanced analytics practice. So in order to do things like in database and Oracle and Teradata that I mentioned before, you have to be able to output models in a variety of different languages. And so we have, I believe, 7 or 8 of them at this point. And whoever asked that question, I'd be happy to send you the list so that you could fully understand how we do that. But and ours included there as well.
Great. And then one last question here. And like I said, everybody, there are a few that we haven't gotten to, but that we'll post over in the forums, the Statistica forum at BAC. And so we'll get at them by that method. Also, it's worth mentioning a few people have asked about any specific case studies that are available, and there'll be links to those various case studies, and they'll be up in the BAC content library as well. So if your question was around specific use cases or printed material around those cases, that'll be available on BAC. So Shawn, the last question here, kind of getting a little futuristic. Any vision on integrating analytical insights with artificial intelligence?
I think that that's the new hot topic, right? It's AI is a pretty cool place. And, the foundations of AI, if you take a close look at Statistica, you will see that we have a lot of those types of components in place. AI is not a big part of our story right now. And frankly, I almost said it when I was asked, where's the growth in the market? I think we're early on AI, and I think we'll do some interesting things there. But right now, what I see, I think Rich asked the question, and I said, finance and healthcare and retail were some of the growing markets. But the other place I see growth is companies iterating and becoming extraordinarily culturally serious about advanced analytics. So the onesie twosie project stuff has taken place, right? Companies have a couple of models in place or a couple of workflows that are helping them run their business, and they've seen that it's effective. And so really the bigger area of growth from my perspective right now is to democratize access to the platform, give the insights to more people, kind of follow some of these rules of the algorithmic economy, understand where we can optimize businesses and help customers go wider and deeper with advanced analytics. I think many of them eventually will start to have questions and courses of action around artificial intelligence. But we already have machine learning and Statistica. We have a lot of the foundational things there and are used by the customers who want it. But I think AI is a fun, bright, shiny toy to follow. But most of our customers aren't suffering from the bright, shiny toy syndrome so much of AI.
We'll ask you again in 10 years then, maybe 4 years. It's probably not
probably Probably shorter than 10 for sure, but you know, it's like I said, it's not something everyone's pounding the door for. The machine learning stuff and some of these other things, yes, absolutely. But typical, you know, AI things, probably not so much today.
Great. Well, with that, like I said, we'll be posting the rest of the questions that we weren't able to get to over on the BAC forum. And I'd like to turn it back over to Rich for a sign off here.
And Shawn, I just want to thank you again for being here today. And, you know, your last comments there just made me reflect on the fact that as long as Statistica has been around, and it's been around for a few years, you are really at the front end of a market that's just going to grow dramatically over the next 10 years.
I have never seen a market where I've never seen, and I've been in the industry for a long time. You mentioned up front, you know, I was attached to DM Review Magazine and the BI Network from a press side, and we watched all these trends for so many years, and we never really talked about advanced analytics. We always kind of knew it was down the hall and off to the left, and people used it for some cool things. I've never seen the industry pivot towards things like advanced analytics. In the 20 odd years I've been in it. I think it's very exciting. It's fun to be the target. It's fun to be the new thing that people want to understand. It's fun to be challenged to get it in more hands. You know, we'll never ever step away from our core customers all over the world who are data scientists, but we are definitely looking for ways to enable a greater, wider group of people to experience the payoff of advanced analytics. And whether it's embedded or part of a culture of a business, I think we're going to see just a lot more of that. You know, we're all getting used to it. You know, none of us can shop online without having the online shopping network know what we bought last week and what we should buy this week. We're getting used to advanced analytics enhancing our world, and now it's something that people are demanding. So I think it's exciting.
Well, and it's also, as you know, why we started Business Analytics Collaborative. And I realize we've been talking about BAC, and some folks may not know what that is. For those that don't, Business Analytics Collaborative is a new community, free to members, and our goal is to really provide content there in the form of white papers and videos like this from a lot of different sectors, many different experts and other partners, so that we can really educate the market and really help folks coming into this market really understand how to use analytical techniques and how to blend them with what they've been doing with data warehouses, et cetera. So we're covering and providing materials that span from advanced analytics all the way down to things that are associated typically with information management. And for those that haven't experienced it, go and join. It's free. We ask for your name and some profile information so that when you get into the site, we can actually serve you some very personalized information against your request or your particular interest. We call that My Portal. It's something customized to every particular member that joins. But there's also a rich place for you to go and to investigate sponsors, partners like Statistica. There's a page there that outlines all of what they're doing in the market and gives you a really rich flavor for each of these sponsors, as well as a series of experts, and allow you to interact with these experts like Shawn, who is also an expert on BAC. And thank you for that, Shawn, and thank you again for being here. And I look forward to doing another event with you in the near future.
Thanks, Rich. It was great to be here, and we appreciate the community, and we're glad to be part of it.